I have guys tell me, well, they're faster and more accurate than iron sights. Well, I don't drink that Kool-Aid. And if you think, I tell guys, if you really believe that,
yeah.
Google up Air Marshal qualification course.
Yeah.
30 rounds. It's shot at 7 yards.
Yeah.
And try it with your red dot and tell me how you did, if you passed or not.
Yeah.
I've not met one guy yet who's a hot shot that could pass the Air Marshal's qual with the red dot.
Yeah. All right. So we're out here on the range. As you can see behind me, we've got standard USPSA targets based on these neat little templates from OSA. And we are going to test out Ken Hackathorn's claim that you cannot pass the Air Marshal qual with a red dot. Not only are we going to try and pass the Air Marshal qual, we're going to pass it with this Desert Eagle, with this enormous vector optic on the top, which is just honestly kind of a funny setup. Now, I only have an outside the waistband holster. I don't have an inside the waistband holster. There's exactly like one draw on the qual, I think, that involves like inside the waistband draw. We're just going to offset it. These targets are actually like a little bit smaller than what the qual calls for. We're going to try and shoot A zones only. If we can, we'll only count A zone scores. And also, I'm drawing a 5.5 pound metal brick instead of, you know, like some cool guy concealed carry gun or Glock or, you know, whatever you'd normally use for shoot the Air Marshal qual. So I'm going to offset it by adding a good bit of extra challenge. So we'll see how it goes. All right. So just so you can see our setup here, these are all set to USPSA standard targets. The actual like FBI QT targets that you would usually use for this, they're like a man-sized target, and they have a Coke bottle, and then like an interior Coke bottle kind of thing. They're actually a bit smaller than like, or a bit bigger than a USPSA A zone. The USPSA targets are like a bit smaller overall. The FBI QT targets are actually like, they're pretty darn huge. And then I would say the internal Coke bottle is like, say the A zone, maybe a little fatter right here up into like the head box there. It's this like pretty sizable little thing. So we're going to go for just A zones for score. And on like a slightly smaller target, shooting Desert Eagle, got all of our targets set up. These are 3 yards apart, measured out all the way to our 7 yard line. So the standard setup for the Air Marshal qualification test. All right, first drill, draw to first shot on the 7, just draw from the holster, hit the target, and the par time is very low. It's like, I think it's like 3.2 seconds overall, so 1.6 max time per iteration. So I'm just drawing the Desert Eagle from the holster on the beep instead of from inside the waistband. Perfect A zone, 098. Do the second one. Perfect A zone, 101. All right, second drill, pretty easy. It's just doubles from the low ready. So I'll come from the low ready, do a double, and come back down. I have a maximum of 1.37 per each double, and I do 2 strings. Perfect A zones, 102. All right, perfect A zones, 120 on the second one. Second passed. Okay, bill drill from the low ready with a 3-second par time. Okay, all in the A zone. And par time was 3 seconds. 207 with a deagle. Okay, now the drill is a 1R1, which is 1, reload 1. 3.25 second par time per string. 2 A zones, and 291. On pace. Do it again. All right, 307. All A zones, perfectly on time. Pass. All right, this is draw, and go 1 and 1, and then 1 and 1. Both A zones, 140. Par time is 165 per string. Hold on, try that again. A zones, 161, still on time. Drill is a pass. All right, for this one, the gun is in the holster. Got to turn and hit all 3 targets. A zones, 299. It's 325 maximum per string, so that's a pass. Now I have to turn the other way if I remember correctly. Grab some more ammo. All right. Reholster, timer. All A zones. And that is 302. That is a pass. Okay, so this one is an interesting one. I have to go from low ready, bang, and then reload as I drop to one knee. So reload from empty, drop to one knee, and hit the second one. And this one is 4 seconds per string. Should not have any problem with this. All right, both A zones, 391. Actually cut it a little closer than I thought. All right, I'll reset, knock that last one out. And all A zones again, 344, pass. So the entire qual is a pass. All right, so Air Marshal Qual with the Desert Eagle and red dot sight is a pass. Now, full disclosure, was never concerned about whether or not this was going to be a pass, and the reason is I actually really like the Air Marshal Qual. So I very infrequently will teach classes. It's pretty rare. I usually do it for like a charity event or something like that. But I shoot the Air Marshal Qual all the time with like students if they've gotten to a certain level, or just, you know, like myself for like a warm up on the range. It's a really good test of like, hey, you know, outside of like competition shooting, which I also do, like, is what you're doing for training actually kind of going along the right lines? Like it's got pretty tight standards, and it's not, you know, if you're like a good competition shooter, this is a breeze. This is a breeze for you. It really is not that hard. But, you know, for the average shooter, this is a really good test of like, you know, are you doing what you should be doing? I was never all that concerned about whether I was going to pass or not, because I pass it all the time. I've even passed it with this Desert Eagle before. It's not that big a deal. So yeah, just red dots in the Air Marshal Qual. It's on the website. If you go look at the Air Marshal website and you look up like the Air Marshal Qual, it's just a line of dudes shooting it with like Glocks and red dot sights. It's not weird to pass it with the red dot sight at all. It's what everyone uses now, period. And actually the standards for like, or the amount of people that started passing it once everyone was using red dots went up by quite a bit. So yeah, saying you can't pass the Air Marshal Qual with a red dot sight is stupid. That's so silly. No, don't be that guy.